Hello and welcome to Game Day Picks. My name's Roch Egan.
I'm Luke Spencer.
And it is week 8 here for Game Day Picks. Luke, I hear you had a pretty good week last week. I cannot say the same. I went 4-9. How about yourself?
Yeah, I actually took the inverse, 9-4. We had a little bit of a hiatus last week. We had to make our picks virtually due to fall break, but I'm sitting at 64-42 overall. And what's your record looking like overall here?
Currently, I'm 49-57, which is not too good. I blame it on the upsets. There were quite a few upsets last week, including 2 games that I thought should have been close that turned out to be blowouts. So that was my worst week so far.
Yeah, we'll see if we have similar results around the NFL this week, but without further ado, let's get into our picks for Week 8. Starting off with some Thursday night football, we've got Bills versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've got the Bills here. The Bills need a big win. They've been struggling a bit as of late. They lost to the Patriots last week. They lost to the Jags a few weeks ago in London. And the Buccaneers only scored 13 points last week, so I've got the Bills here.
I've also got the Bills. Again, last week was rough, but I still got faith in Josh Allen. Now, Dawson Knox, tight end, is out so far with a wrist injury. So I'm a little worried about that, but I trust Allen. I trust his decision-making, so I'm taking the Bills, and I think they'll come out strong after that loss last week to the Pats.
Next up, Texans versus Panthers. Roch, what's your pick here?
I'm going to go Panthers. When you look at the matchup, both teams are pretty close. Houston's ranked 19th in offense and 15th in defense, and the Panthers 27th in offense and 10th in defense. So I think this could be a closer game, but I think the Panthers are going to get their first win this week.
Yeah, like you said, Panthers, I think they're in panic mode right now. They're still looking for that first win, and I don't think it's going to be this week. I've got the Texans. I like this Texans offense. C.J. Stroud, the rookie QB, along with some receivers, Nico Collins and Tank Dell. They've impressed me so far this year. All right, next up, we've got Rams versus Cowboys. I've got the Rams in this one. I think these Rams wide receivers are going to benefit from Trayvon Diggs, Cowboys corner. He's been injured. He's out for the whole season, and I think these Rams wide receivers, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, they're going to have a day versus this Dallas secondary.
See, I just can't see myself picking against the Cowboys. They're coming off bye week and still have the second best defense in the league. I think, as you said, with that corner being out, it could be rough, but I'm worried about the Rams. Stafford has a below 60% completion rate, and he's already thrown 6 interceptions. That compared to Prescott, who's got nearly 70% completion rate with only 4 interceptions. I'm going Cowboys.
Next up, we've got Vikings versus Packers, a bit of a division rivalry here. Roch, what's your pick here?
I'm going to go Vikings here. I think they're going to be hot off of their win last week, and the Packers took a tough loss. Look, I think that this is all about momentum, and the Vikings have the momentum coming off last week.
I agree. I also think this is about momentum, and I think this Vikings team has found their stride. They had a big win on Monday Night Football last week, and Kirk Cousins looked as great as he's ever looked. It is important to note Justin Jefferson, star wide receiver, is out. He's on the IR, but Jordan Addison, the rookie, stepped up on Monday Night Football. He looked great. Next up, we've got Colts versus Saints. I've got the Colts here. I went to the Colts game last week when they played the Browns. They looked good on offense, but their defense did not step up. They had a tough loss to the Browns, but Gardner Minshew played well. As for the Saints, they did not look great on Thursday night last week, taking a loss to the Jags.
Look, I think Minshew is taking a lot of heat right now, and I think that we just need to give him some time. I think he's doing a good job, and in my opinion, got a little screwed last week from some calls. Not going to make too many comments on that, but the Colts are at home this week. I think it's a fairly even matchup, so I'm going to go blue.
Okay, next up, we've got my Patriots. They're playing the Dolphins this week, and I've got to go the Patriots. The boys are rolling. Statement win over the Bills last week. Keep sleeping on the Patriots, and you will be woken up later in the season. Tyreek Hill for the Dolphins. He's doubtful this week, so I've got the Pats.
Wow, so you're going – they're on a roll after that one big game against the Bills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, I was so tempted to pick the Patriots this week. I mean, last week was quite the shock for me for both teams. Let's be honest. The Pats beat the Bills, and then the Finns lost to the Eagles. I was a little upset about that. But, I mean, these teams just don't compare. First, they got the number one offense. They're first in passing, first in rushing. Star quarterbacks got the most passing yards in the league, tied for touchdowns so far with 15. look, this is just not a competition at all.
We'll see. Jets versus Giants is next. A new battle between the New York City teams. Roch, who do you got here?
I really like watching these two teams play. I always love the New York face-offs, whether it's in baseball or in football or what. So I'm gonna go Jets on this one. I don't think the Giants have this one. I mean, yes, they got to win. Shout out to Coach Bailey for going crazy over that over that Giants team. But they've faced way too many injuries this year, and I think the Jets have this one.
Yeah, I've got the Jets too. They're coming off of a bye week, and they're also a team that has some momentum right now. Before that bye week in Week 6, they had a massive win over the Eagles. So I think the Jets are going to pull this one out. Next up, we've got Steelers versus Jaguars. Who do you got here?
So I feel like have seen the Jags come out of nowhere here. I wasn't expecting much of them. So I'm going to have to go Jags. I don't think this will be a very close game. The Steelers just don't have the kind of star players that I think the Jags have this year.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with the Jags too. This Steelers offense got Deontay Johnson, their best wide receiver, back from injury last week, but I don't think it'll be enough in this game. They did get a win last week, but I think the Jags have got this one. Okay, next up, Falcons versus Titans. I've got the Falcons. Fantasy owners were pretty upset last week with this Falcons team. Bijan Robinson, he wasn't listed on the injury report, but he just didn't really play last week. But he will hopefully be back this week, and I think this Falcons team is a sneaky pick to possibly upset some teams maybe in the playoffs.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. I got to go Titans, and I think it's for those opposite reasons. Look, the Falcons had a rough game last week, and I think that the Titans are in the right position. They're at home, so I think that they can pull this one out.
Okay, next up, we've got the Eagles and the Commanders. What's your pick for this one?
This is a no-brainer for me. Eagles smoked the best team in the league last week. They held them to 17 points. I think that they'll have a pretty easy game here. There's a pretty small spread of -6.5 for the Eagles, so I think they'll have an easy time covering this. This should be a 2 to 3 score game.
Yeah, it's a pretty good bet there, picking the Eagles on that spread. I think they will keep rolling after that win versus the Dolphins last week. This Commanders team only scored 7 points against the Giants, so they've got to fix something on their offense. Okay, next up, Browns versus Seahawks. I've got the Browns. They found a way to win, even with Deshaun Watson exiting the game last week against the Colts after 2 drives. Phillip Walker came in, and he played well, got him the win.
What's the update on Watson here?
So Watson, I've heard that he has a chance to play, and he exited with a head injury. He's also had a shoulder injury, but I've heard he also has an ankle injury. So Deshaun Watson is pretty banged up right now. I would expect P.J. Walker to probably start this game.
Well, I'm also going to go Browns here, and I think that this is definitely a matchup of defenses. We got the number 1 ranked Browns defense against the Seahawks at number 5. In addition, Seahawks have a nearly 50% allowance rate on third downs. So, yes, the Browns did beat the Colts, but they also forced a lot of turnovers. Look, I got to give a huge shout out to Mason Unton for giving me that stat earlier today. Mason was actually at the Browns-Colts game, second row. Certainly let him know if you saw him on the broadcast.
Yep, next up we've got Ravens versus Cardinals. I think this is a pretty easy pick. Lamar Jackson for the Ravens. He had a career game last week. Easy pick for me, Ravens.
I agreed. I wasn't expecting the Ravens to beat the Lions, but they pulled it out, and I think that they'll smoke the 1-6 Cardinals here.
Next up we've got Chiefs-Broncos. What's your pick here?
I got to go Chiefs. Look, I love to watch the Chiefs, but I just really don't like Taylor Swift, and they need to stop showing her on every single play. But with the Chiefs playing in Colorado, I don't know if she's making the trip out to the mountains, so I'm going to go Chiefs.
Yeah, I got the Chiefs here. Another really easy pick. They're rolling on offense and defense. They're really firing on all cylinders. Okay, next up, we've got one of my matchups of the week. We've got Bengals versus 49ers. I've got the Bengals here. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy, 2 straight losses, his first 2 losses of his entire career, but he is likely out. He's in concussion protocol. Sam Darnold will get the start, and I think this Bengals team will take advantage.
I was on edge about this game, especially after the 49ers performance last week, but I'm holding true. Look, Burrow just has not impressed me that much this year. And yes, Purdy's out, but I got so much faith in Christian McCaffrey. I think they'll go to him quite a bit, especially in the run game. So I'm going to go 49ers here.
Next up, we've got Bears versus Chargers. This Bears team, They've been looking a lot better than they did at the beginning of the season. What do you got here, Roch?
I'm gonna go Chargers. Luke, I don't know why this game's on Sunday Night Football here. We got two teams who only have 2 wins. So I don't think Herbert's horrible, but he's better than Fields. So I'm gonna go Chargers.
Yeah, I've got the Chargers too. This Bears team, they've been looking better. Fields was hurt last week. They started a rookie quarterback, but they did get the win. But I got the Chargers here. They need a win badly. I think this is a good team that has a bad head coach, and I think it's a great opportunity for them to turn things around. Next up, we've got Monday Night Football, Lions versus Raiders. I've got the Lions here. It was an embarrassing loss last week for them against the Ravens. I was expecting that to be a lot better game, but I think this team is too good for a loss like that to happen 2 weeks in a row.
I'm actually going to disagree with you here. I'm going to go Raiders. I think Monday Night Football recently has hosted a lot of close games and even some upsets, including last week's upset on Monday Night Football. So I'm going to go Raiders. I think that Monday night is a perfect stage for them to take down that Lions. I think the Lions might be down after that tough loss last week. All right, well, that's it for picks. Luke, some big news in the baseball scene. World Series starting tomorrow, Friday. And we got the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, both 2 wildcard teams. The first time we've had 2 wildcard teams since 2004. What are you thinking on that game?
Yeah, this is very unexpected. I mean, when we made our World Series picks a few weeks ago, none of us would have expected the Rangers and the Diamondbacks to be meeting here as we enter November. But I've got the Diamondbacks here. I was impressed with the way that they handled going into Philadelphia for a Game 7 and getting a win. Corbin Carroll, the rookie, 3 for 3 with a sac fly RBI as well. He was so clutch, and I've got this Diamondbacks team.
I'm going to have to go Rangers. Look, one of the reasons I can't pick the Diamondbacks is they beat the Yankees in that 2001 World Series, and I'm a Yankees fan. But we look at the Rangers. They went undefeated until they came up against the Houston Astros here for the championship series and then beat the Astros 4 times at home. I hope that they can figure out a way to win at home because they also lost 3 games at home. But I'm going to go Rangers here, American League, going for the American League team. Let's talk tomorrow night for Cathedral. Friday night, you got the first game of this playoff series against North Central at Chittard. What are your thoughts on that, Luke?
Yeah, so this is our second matchup with NC this year. The last one, it was a great game for us. It really turned our season around. We had taken some tough losses to Brownsburg and Chittard before we played NC, and that game really flipped a switch for us. We played a lot better after that win versus North Central. Like you said, we're playing at Chittard this week. We'll see how that plays a factor. I mean, last time we played there wasn't a great result, but we're hoping to get a big win here and roll into next week where we're going to face LN or LC. And that will do it for Game Day Picks Week 8. I'm Luke Spencer.
And I'm Roch Egan.
And we'll see you guys next week.